It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, folks, periodically I ask the politicians that could be accountable for what they're doing, and my guest today is Representative Tarah Toohil from the 116th Pennsylvania Legislative District. And I'd like to get an update sometimes as to what's happening so you know what our legislators are doing. And Tarah, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
A lot of things happening in Harrisburg, a lot of activity. I know you and the state legislature have been very active. But there are some things that, that are, I'd like to cover a number of areas here. The first thing is your bill, the juvenile bill. What is that?
Yes. I have a bill, and it's actually gone through the House, and it passed the Senate unanimously, and now it's coming back through the House, and it's going to go to the governor's desk shortly. And it deals with all the problems that arose out of the Kids for Cash scandal. And basically all of the input, whenever a child goes away to a juvenile facility from now on in Luzerne County and across the state of Pennsylvania, it's going to be put online on a registry, and it's going to show the age of the child, what crime they committed, and how long they're getting put away for, how long they actually stay, and what facilities they're going to, so that we'll have openness and accountability. And what happened here in Luzerne County will never happen again, because a parent from Luzerne County will be able to go online and pull up the statistics and be able to see how many children are going away in Luzerne County. Whereas we were 2 to 3 times more than any other county, children going away to jail. This now, obviously, any red flags, people will be able to put a stop to any sort of problem.
And so you've had success with this, correct?
Yes.
In fact, they did a feature in Harrisburg on that, right?
Yes, they did.
You don't anticipate any problem, do you?
I don't. It's been successful, and it's something that people know that we need. And it deals with the Juvenile Court Judges Commission and all the information that they have. So luckily, or hopefully, the governor's going to sign it very shortly.
There are some items here that I don't want to talk to you about. Of course, the most important thing, I guess, is that when the governor came out with his budget, according to what Dan Muser, who was on my show, talked about what they inherited. Okay, it's just like any household. If you're living on $60,000 a year, and your spouse or you lose your job and you're down to $40,000 a year, certainly you have to make adjustments. You can't live like you're making $60,000, so you have to make adjustments. And I think what Dan was saying, that the state made some adjustments, okay, accordingly. However, in doing that, there were some things that had to be cut. And I know you're swamped every day with, can we put this back in the budget? Can we put that in the budget? First of all, your general feeling about the budget.
Well, the budget is never a pleasant process, obviously, because you are prioritizing the needs. And there's many people, there's many projects, many things that are services that there's a lot of need in our communities. So everyone right now is in that period arguing that obviously they should be a top priority and that they should still have funding. But when you look at the budget and the tough choices and the tough cuts that we have to make, you have to be cognizant of the fact that for the past 8 years under Governor Rendell, it's been reckless spending, reckless borrowing on the backs of our children, just completely living beyond your means. And someone has to pay for all of that. It's not free money. It's taxpayer money. The taxpayers have to pay for those loans, for that borrowing, and for all that reckless spending. So people got used to a very fat government that would spend money on anything. There was money for any building you want to build or bridge that you want to put up, just so much spending. So now we're down to the nitty-gritty, living within our means, but also people are really clamoring to get the money that they want for social agencies and libraries and public education.
All right, now one of the things that always confuses me, and correct me, and this is not a Democrat or Republican thing, and I always have to be careful because people think I'm anti this or I'm not anti this. I only speak facts. Whether it was a Republican administration or a Democrat administration, all we do know is that there was 8 years, okay, of a particular administration that caused a lot of debt. Okay, so now a new legislation is legislators are put in to correct the problem. Okay, now are you having any difficulty with the other side? Now, whether it's Democrat or Republican, in this case it would be the Democrat side. Are you having any difficulty with the Democrats in adjusting this budget?
Well, I think the problem is that there's always two sides presented or three sides presented to every story. So obviously when the Republicans are putting forth an agenda and a budget, at this time that it's a Republican-led government, the Democrats, unfortunately, a lot of them are talking about what their agenda is, because there's two sides. But hopefully, we'll meet in the middle and the budget will pass. And I mean, there obviously has to be tough cuts. There's, just millions of dollars that go to the state universities, and still the cost of tuition goes up every year. There's money that goes to, a lot of our nonprofits, we want to see them sustained, we want to grow them, but then you have to look at how much are the presidents of those nonprofits making. If they need $500,000 and they're making $100,000 being the president or CEO of a nonprofit, well, they have to be held accountable and they have to cut back also. So there's tough choices.
Yeah, and it's not that anyone should get a free ride, because that's why you have the balance. But sometimes what I get a little upset about is when I see the politics being played. And I don't like the politics being played. I don't like the fact that it's a Democrat or a Republican and the logic goes out the window, okay? And that's what I mean, if I sat there and I was, Democrat or Republican, and I see that we have all these bills and we're in trouble, well then I don't know why I would be fighting against something to make it happen other than political reasons. It's very good it's very good on the other side to say, well, I'm against that, and I think they should get all this stuff. Knowing you don't have the power to get it passed through anyway. The minority always, so they try to, it becomes political. So what they do is they rile people up, they get people upset without knowing facts. Now, whether it's the Democrats or Republicans, I'm not picking, I'm just saying it just so happens to be the Republicans are in control, but the facts remain, they inherited a tremendous debt.
And the thing is the way that you feel, that's the way all the viewers feel also. They don't care about Republican or Democrat. They just want to get the job done. They don't, and before I went down to Harrisburg, I didn't realize how partisan it really is. I'm very lucky to have Senator John Yudichak as my senator, and he works well with Congressman Barletta. The three of us work so well together, and we kind of just ignore that because it's about the people. It's not about the parties.
And I would hope, no matter who is there, I've always said, I think they took common sense and threw it out the door. When you talk to Congressman Barletta, he comes back, he said to me a couple of weeks ago, he says, Sammy, I don't know how to go to, I don't know how I go to sleep at night. Okay, what he is encountering, what he said, and again, it's like, oh, you're only for Republicans. No, that's not the case. It's that we have inherited a mess. If you go there to do a job, okay, it's not going to be an easy job. When I come back, Tarah, I want to talk about a few things that people are very much concerned about and really pissed, okay? And that's the welfare and the fraud that's going on. And of course, is this governor, as the PSEA president, who was sat right where you sat, feels that he is not promoting education. Folks, I'm talking to Representative Tarah Toohil, and we come back, we'll address some of these concerns. Remember, my email is sam@ssptv.com, or watch us 24/7 anywhere in the world. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. My guest, Representative Tarah Toohil, talking about the budget. And once again, folks, please do not represent what I'm saying. This is not a Republican or a Democrat thing. We got to deal with facts, folks, okay? So many of you have been misled throughout the years through all these politicians telling you we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and they sound so great. And you're still paying higher taxes, the jobs are not there, welfare is being abused, so where's the accountability? Tarah, let's talk about, first of all, this is great. Too bad, I don't know if you could see this, Andy, but this is how the dollar is broken down, folks, okay? Facts are sometimes terrible things, but in this distribution of the 2011 to 2012 distribution of taxpayers' dollars, we see here, Tarah, that over 40 cents is designated to education, okay? 38 cents, almost 40 cents, goes to public welfare, okay? Now, let's talk about education, because again, when the PSEA president sat here, he says Corbett was really not doing great for education and cut a lot of money, and it was anti-education. And now Dan Muser made his statement. How do you feel about that?
Well, there's philosophical differences between most Democrats and most Republicans on the issue of education. The fact is that 40% of all taxpayer money goes towards public education. Obviously, our current governor, he looks at it that there should be some privatization. He believes that there should be vouchers. He wants to expand charter schools, expand the income tax credits that go when a large company donates money so that people can choose for their children to go to school. But traditionally, and obviously PSEA and most people in this district are very much just focused on the Hazleton Area School District and what our budget is. We are able to have a charter school, but we haven't had one yet. So people really are looking towards Hazleton Area High School. I mean, that's where most people go. We've lost a lot of our Catholic schools. We've lost a lot of our private schools. So 40% of every taxpayer dollar goes towards education. Granted, there's costs that arise. The price of pensions, the teachers' pensions is a large proportion of that taxpayer money. So not all that money can go to the children. It goes towards building costly school buildings or towards the pensions. So really, pension reform is something that's going to have to be dealt with because it's every year those pensions balloon. It's billions of dollars, and they're going to have to pay for that eventually. So you want to make sure the people that have their pensions, that was a commitment, that's a contractual obligation, that those teachers should have those pensions. But down the road, all state employees, they can't have these tremendous pensions like they do.
Now, looking at the Hazleton Area School District, okay, did they or did they not get hit as far as losing millions of dollars?
What happened was they did not lose money. The state of Pennsylvania has actually made the largest allocation towards public education in state history.
Okay, so, and this is where people are getting confused.
Yeah, it's an important fact.
Yeah, it's very important. See, and Dan said the same thing. The fact of the matter is, this is the largest ever going to education in any budget in the state of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Okay, now,
yes.
Now, what's the problem?
The problem is that there was a federal subsidy which came from President Obama, and that was the federal stimulus money, which was controversial at the time. A lot of it went to our roads, but the school district was given a large amount of money. So it was federal dollars that came down through the state. It was one-time money that obviously the state is not going to be able to continue that $4 million that went to Hazleton Area District because it was funneled through the state and came directly from Obama. So that's where it looks like there's a disparity. But if you go from 2 years prior, Governor Ed Rendell, he gave less to the Hazleton Area School District. Then you had a large amount from President Obama on top of the state subsidy. And now again, you have Governor Corbett giving more to education than Governor Rendell did two years prior. So it's just, I mean, you have to look at the big picture and you have to look at the facts because the people out there, they don't want to look at it like what they hear is that Governor Corbett is cutting education.
Yeah, well, and it's not fair. Whether he's Democrat or Republican, if it was a Democrat governor and they were doing the same thing, it's just not fair.
Right.
Because as we said, look at the budget and see where it's going. Welfare. Now, there's a lot of controversy on this. You have the liberals who feel we should help everybody, and believe me, Tara, I am all for helping anybody who is in need.
Right.
And I think that's what makes America great. I've said this before. I think the thing that really, really bothers people is that when you see the abuse,
right.
Okay? People are out there working every day, who have a conscience, they're working hard, and then they go to the different grocery stores, and then you see these people who really abuse the system. Now, we want to help, and again, it's not that there's just so much fraud with the
right.
access card, and people are coming here taking advantage of us, okay?
And I think everyone wants there to be a safety net
Yeah.
in society. Obviously, we have soup kitchens, but you want to be able to, a mother with children or a father who has children, you want them to be able to get food stamps so they can feed their children that night
Yes.
when they get home from school.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to have a hand up, but you don't want a hand out. So the problem is that if you look at this budget, we have 38% of every dollar, 38 cents on every dollar is going towards handouts. And it's not just, at some point, it becomes cyclical in nature, and these people are completely dependent upon the welfare system. And everyone, I mean, that's almost half of every dollar goes to welfare.
Where is the accountability? I mean, people say to me, I was at a restaurant a couple of weeks ago, and the owner said, Sammy, he said, I want to tell you, he said, I went down to the supermarket here, and nothing wrong. He said, and I'm trying to struggle with this, and I see a person in front of me jammed with all kind of stuff and zipping the access cards, etc. In fact, one woman was so upset, she, when this one lady went through with, and used all the access cards, and she was going out, and she saw her getting into a Cadillac Escalade, and she said, look, I don't want to tell you how to run but I see it. You went through the system here, and you're all these groceries, and you're driving an Escalade. I have a car, but can't afford that. You know what the lady said? You just don't know how to work the system.
Right.
Now that's a slap in the face to all these hardworking people.
And you've made two important points. Just in that story, there's two important points. One thing is technology is not always a good thing. The fact that we went from paper food stamps now to these plastic cards that are so easy to have, people have multiple ones, and the government can't keep up with the technology, and they're not having any accountability with the cards. That's the first problem. And then under our prior governor, we used to have an asset test. So if you went in and you applied for welfare and you have a Cadillac Escalade or a $100,000 house, you can't get welfare because you have to make adjustments, like what you talked about in the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
You have to make adjustments in your life. So, I mean, that's the problem right there. They got rid of this asset test, and it's something that's just supposed to be administrative with the Department of Public Welfare. But we don't have an asset test at all. So if you have no income and a Cadillac Escalade, you can be on welfare in Pennsylvania. Yeah. So people are hearing about Pennsylvania, and people are moving to Pennsylvania. You can have unlimited children. You can be on welfare for the rest of your life as long as you don't have an income. And you can have a big fancy house and a nice car. And everything is a handout.
So the point is this: what's being done about it?
Well, one piece of legislation is my bill, which is stuck over in the Senate, and we talked about that, which makes it a felony, just like it's credit card fraud with these plastic cards that everybody talks about in the supermarkets. Also this week in Judiciary Committee, actually in the Health Committee, I'm on the Health Committee as well. On the Health Committee, we had a bill, and it's making it, because I get constant complaints, especially in our district, about illegal immigrants that are collecting welfare. And it's supposed to be, in the United States of America, it would have to be such a dire circumstance. You would have to be so destitute to get an emergency assistance. But here in Pennsylvania, you can be an illegal immigrant and you can have 3 of those cards. And one is from New York and one's from Pennsylvania. So one of the pieces of legislation that was going through is making it so that if you are not a citizen, that you cannot be getting these benefits. And if you look at these dollars, I mean, wouldn't it be great if we were taking care of our seniors, or if this went to property tax relief? But instead we're educating our children, but they don't even have to work. Like we're creating a culture of dependency.
It's sickening. It really is sick. And society, it's funny that you have people who will say, this is so terrible. And yet when we're telling them on the other end is, whether if you're going to run for office, I want to know what you stand for. Are you going to do something about this and be accountable for it? Or are you one of those people that, no, we got to give everything away? And that's why I always say, vote for the qualified person who is going to help in these situations. So folks, I'm talking to Tarah Toohil. She is our state representative of the 116th Legislative District. I always ask the politicians to come on to report what's going on. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Don't forget 24/7. And remember, we're on 4 o'clock now with our news live. 5 o'clock KYW. We're back at local news at 6 o'clock. So we expanded our news to give you more local information, as well as the Philadelphia news at 5 o'clock. My guest, Representative Tarah Toohil from the 116th Pennsylvania Legislative District. What are we doing for getting jobs in the state of Pennsylvania?
Well, jobs, I would say, besides for property taxes, jobs is the #1 issue. People do want to work in Pennsylvania. Obviously, we're having a crisis of epic proportions across the nation. But in Pennsylvania, we're working hard to turn Pennsylvania around and make it a jobs-friendly state. Right now we were actually 49th, we were like 48th and 49th of the worst places to come and bring a business. And now we're 50th. So we have been ranked the lowest state. If you are Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whoever you may be, some big corporation, you do not want to come here to Pennsylvania to have your business. It would take you forever to get a shovel in the ground. With DEP and regulations and licensing, you can't even build the building, let alone begin to hire people. So that obviously affects places like Can-Do. It affects Hazleton City, places where we should have big companies coming in and bringing thousands of jobs. That our children that are getting out of Hazleton Area High School, whether they go away to college or not, they should be able to work here in our community and have good jobs. So it is something that we can do and make a difference in, is making Pennsylvania more jobs friendly.
So what are we doing about it?
Well, this week in the legislature, we're working to lower the corporate net income tax, which is the highest in the nation, one of the highest in the nations, and that's to go from 9.99% down to 6.99%, which is a huge incentive to businesses. And then one of the things that's something that's been yelled about. People yell about that for years in the business climate. And then another thing is the Delaware Loophole. If you open your corporation and you could have a dummy corporation or you could have your corporation in Delaware, then you don't have to pay Pennsylvania corporate taxes at all. So we're closing that loophole, and that's some revenue that we're going to be able to get in. So that's a bipartisan effort that we're working on to both lower the corporate net income tax and close the Delaware loophole. And that is going to make Pennsylvania a more jobs-friendly place.
You know, it's here again, when I tell the viewers to become educated of what's going on, you know, I've said this with Governor Corbett sitting there, Dan Muser, John Udicek, Congressman Barletta, you name them, been on the show. Why do they make our lives, who are the small businessmen, so difficult? They make our lives so difficult, they throw so many things at us that we can hire more people. We have to lay people off, okay? And it's just sad. You said something. Before someone puts a shovel in the ground, it's ridiculous what they have to go through. I mean, it's sinful.
Yes. And if you take Weatherly Casting and Hazleton Casting, we have Mike Leib, one of our business owners here. He says that the business that he started in the 80s, that he never today would ever be able to start that business in Pennsylvania.
No way.
And it's a challenge to keep it running in America and in Pennsylvania.
Sometimes people think when you have business, you're making millions of dollars and go after them. They got a lot of money. Realize that's not the case. The people who are rich are the people that you want to invest. You want to make their lives easy because they're investing millions of dollars to create jobs and generate taxes. A minute left. You got to talk about organ donations.
I wanted to bring this up. April was Organ Donation Awareness Month here in Pennsylvania. And we do have people in the community. I run into them at the mall, people that are waiting for a kidney, people that are on waiting lists. And we have 18 people a day that die waiting for an organ. So I just wanted to put that out there to people that are watching, if they want to look into it, into organ donating, or just to put it through PennDOT. You can put it on your license to be an organ donor. You can donate up to 21 people from your body when you do die. So it's very important. And then there's living donors as well. There's a 13-year-old boy in McAdoo who's waiting for a kidney. So if anyone's ever interested in that, I have information at my office available in becoming an organ donor.
What's your phone number?
Our phone number is 453-1344.
Okay. Folks, Tarah Toohil, 453-1344. Any questions you have, she's there to help you out. Tarah, I really appreciate you coming on the show every once in a while to give us an update of what's happening.
I appreciate being here always. Thank you.
All right, folks, 247ssptv.com. You can watch us anywhere in the world. Thank you for your comments. My email, sam@ssptv.com. Yes, I appreciate some of the positive ones and some of those people. Folks, I only deal with facts. Believe me, I only deal with facts. I don't have any agendas, but you know what? Fact is a fact, and sometimes it can be terrible things. Know the person you're going to vote for. Know what they stand for. If you don't think if you think nothing's being done with property taxes, if you think nothing's being done about welfare, then put people in there who will tell you they'll do things about these things. If not, you get what you deserve. We'll see you next time.